Altoona police also recovered a gun that the NYPD says its crime lab has now matched to 3 shell casings left behind at the crime scene. But an ongoing mystery is how Mangione got the weapon.
The gun itself, it is a ghost gun. It is a receiver that comes from a gun manufacturer from parts, and then the gun was built up from a 3D printer.
Police say they're still searching for a possible motive. As the investigation ramps up in New York, Mangione sits in a maximum custody prison cell in Pennsylvania. His attorney filed a petition contesting his detention, arguing the state has not proven Mangione was in New York the day of the murder, or provided probable cause that he was responsible for the crime.
Stephanie Goss reporting for us, and in the New York Times today, Andrew Whitty, the CEO of United Healthcare Group, the parent company of United Healthcare, remembered Brian Thompson while admitting the system is flawed, trying to acknowledge and quell the outburst of rage that we've witnessed toward insurance companies since the murder. Whitty writes, quote, "Healthcare is both intensely personal and very complicated, and the reasons behind coverage decisions are not well understood. We share some of that responsibility. Together with employers, governments, and others who pay for care, we need to improve how we explain what insurance covers and how decisions are made."
Well, the last thing I want to talk about is probably pretty controversial. And again, I'm an American. I've lived in the American system. It's been a long time, but I have lived in the American medical system. And I've also lived a long time in the British medical system. And I have to tell you that I'll try not to cry, because the NHS has been so wonderful with my cancer treatments. I cannot even begin to tell you. Now, yes, I know there are problems. You could break your leg and then spend 24 hours in a hallway at the NHS waiting for A&E. So I know there are problems, but as an American who is often afraid to go to the doctor, and most Americans do, they hold off until they absolutely have to go to the doctor because they know they're going to have to pay something. And in this day and age, not many of us have credit cards or, savings that we can use for our medical needs. We're generally saving those for, cars that go wrong, or something we have to get fixed in the house, or in our case, something that has to be fixed on the van. So I know this is really controversial, and I just, the NHS is not perfect, but I have to tell you, my cancer care in the NHS was absolutely wonderful. I mean, I think when you have something that is a long-term illness or some kind of illness that they've treated for years, they know what they're doing. They do it as quickly as they can, and you don't have to fight your insurers for money. I've met someone over here who has currently got a debilitating cancer that he's probably eventually not going to survive. They are trying to give him about 10 more years. But so it's not like my breast cancer, but it's still, a cancer. And he said he often will not even tell his wife about how he is fighting the insurance companies to pay his bills. He will get one bill one week that says you owe $2,000. Then he'll get another bill that says you owe $19,000. Now this man is ill. He is still going through the treatment, and yet he's having to get on the phone and fight his insurance for anti-sickness drugs, or, the bill that has come out. Well, no, that, he's got 2 different insurance policies that he has to keep going, and they both are supposed to offset each other. But the one doesn't know what the other one is doing. We know in the UK we could go almost anywhere, give them our address, give them our NHS number, and they pull up our records and they go, oh yes, I still have my little chemo card that I keep in my bag that says, you're undergoing chemo, so that they will know, oh, okay, we definitely need to check her records. And they're all there. The records are there. My parents, they moved 7 years ago, And my mom and dad had to get all their paperwork together. I mean, they had a stack about that big of paperwork that they had to carry from North Carolina to Virginia to give to the doctors in Virginia. I mean, it's just scary. And this poor man going through his chemo, and he's sick, and he's not feeling well. And yet he's got to get on the phone, and he has to argue with his insurance companies as to why he doesn't owe all this money, that they're not looking at the second medical account that he has. And I said, you know, I went in, I had cancer. I had to sign 3 consent forms. One was for my chemo, one was for my operation, and one was for my radiotherapy. That was it. And every time I left, the doctors called me every week after my chemo to see how I was doing and to see if I needed any extra drugs, like for, diarrhea, for whatever it might have been, that do I need these extra drugs? And I would go in, I would have my chemo. The women were wonderful. They've been doing it for years, and they know exactly what they're doing. And they would come out at the end and go, here you go. Here's your little bag of all the drugs that you need this week. Now, meanwhile, if I needed a different drug, maybe I needed some more anti-sickness drugs, they'd be in there because the doctor had already called me to verify what I might need for my next treatment. And again, I know this is not a perfect system. I know you could go and be in a hallway in a wheelchair at A&E for, 24, 48, 72 hours. I know that. But I am telling you guys that we really need to hang on and appreciate our NHS. I mean, some people take advantage of it. We had one acquaintance, not a friend, but an acquaintance who broke her toe, immediately went to A&E because she had a broken toe. And it's like, you can't do anything for a broken toe. Wait until your GP opens, go and see them, and they'll wrap it up. That's the case, But no, she wasted NHS time by going. And perhaps, again, that's sort of the perception that we have. In America, you've got this perception, don't go to the doctor unless you absolutely have to. And in the UK, we've kind of got this, okay, no matter what's going on, I can go to A&E or go to my doctor. And I know it's really difficult to get doctor appointments now in the UK. I know that. One way we get around it is we actually go in person and just kind of bully the staff and say, look, I need to see somebody. I actually, other than my chemo, which is completely different, I haven't been to the doctor in, at least 10 years, because I still have that American mentality that don't go unless something is really serious, unless there's something you absolutely can't solve through the pharmacy or through over-the-counter drugs. Don't go. I mean, isn't that weird that is still so ingrained in me? But I am so, so thankful, and I thank you all that work for the NHS. You're doing a fantastic job. I know you don't get paid enough. I know things are not perfect. But just the fact that every single human being in the UK has a right to health care, and that is not the case over here. Now, I can't really move back to the US, not that I'd want to be perfectly honest, but I can't move back here because I now have a precondition. Number one, I don't have a job. You need to have a job to get really good insurance. I mean, you've got to be working. And once you have a precondition, your health insurance is going to skyrocket, no matter where you go. I had one friend back in the day in the 90s when I worked, and her husband was on her health insurance through the job. He had a heart attack, and she actually found that she couldn't go get another job because her insurance would be too high because of his precondition. So unfortunately, there's no way I could move back here because I've had cancer. So it's not based on your job in the UK. It's based on any human being is allowed to have health care. Whereas over here, it is all job-based. Yes, you have Medicare. Yes, you have Medicaid, but you're going to pay for those. And I know we pay through our NI, national insurance. We pay that through our work, but we've got it. And I can guarantee you, NI is much cheaper than private health care. Private health care over here is really, really scary. Just another example, about 15 years ago, a friend of ours, a young lad, a friend of ours' son, broke his leg. So they took him to the NHS. He got it all sorted. Of course, that was back in the day when the NHS hadn't been plundered. I won't get into that. And he had everything done, nothing. Cost him nothing. You know, mom and dad may have had to sign a consent form, and that was it. You never got a phone call saying, oh, you owe us $2,000. Oh, no, actually, that's $20,000. And he got that done. Now, my brother's son broke his leg about the same time, and they have very good insurance. They are both teachers, and they have very good insurance. They still had to pay £400 excess. Now, I don't know anyone who might have that £400 available. And what happens if you don't have that £400 available to pay the excess? You know, do you always have to have a credit card just ready? And anytime you go to the doctors here or the hospital, the first thing they ask for is your insurance card. It is the very first thing they ask for. Yes, I know in the UK they ask you for your NI number, your national insurance number, or your address. But once they find you on the computer, you're not going to be getting billed, you know, £400 because your son broke his leg. You know, it just mind boggles. And I wish more British people would really look into this when they're looking in politics, because we are so blessed to have that system. And I cannot even begin to tell you, again, talking to the fella that has cancer here, and he's getting all these bills, and he's so sick, and he's fighting with his insurance companies. My mom, 20 years ago, had breast cancer, and her people did not want to give her anti-sickness drugs because they were too expensive. I had anti-sickness drugs, and they were there every week for me. And I may not even use them, you know, because I was really lucky with my chemo that I only had a short period of time on one certain drug where I got really, really sick. And it frightens me. It really frightens me that Americans don't realize that having a national health service, or even the British, they don't realize how very, very lucky we are to have this service, even though it's crappy at times. I mean, I know that. I know, believe me, Chris has experienced that, trying to get a GP appointment, and he's calling and calling and calling, and he can't get through. And he finally just drives down there and says, look, I need to get an appointment. And then they push him straight through. So I know it's not perfect, but how wonderful that people don't need to worry when you're so sick and you're going through chemo, or in this guy's case that I met, he's actually having his blood taken out of him and flushed and put back in, which means he has absolutely no immunities whatsoever, because his cancer is far worse than my cancer was. And he's having to fight his bloody insurance, another word I use all the time now. He's having to fight his bloody insurance company to get them to pay the bills. My sister-in-law's brother said that 11 years ago, he had neck surgery because something had happened. I don't know what it was, but something happened to his neck. And he said that even within the last few years, he's gotten bills saying that he still owes 20 grand. Now, those people can come in, they can take your house in America, they can do whatever. I mean, they can literally bankrupt you. And I'm sure people in the UK have heard about people that have had to do just GoFundMes to try to get their insurance paid, or to try to get their treatment paid for. And I'm sorry, it makes me really, really angry, and it makes me really, really sad, because we should all have a right to the same health care, as crappy as it might be at times on the NHS, and I know it is sometimes, but we should all have the same right to have that treatment. And again, I'll just end this by saying, I doubt any of my nurses watch any of my videos. I did try to get them to subscribe, believe me, I really tried. But I am so very grateful for their care, their kindness, just everything that, I still have more to come, not chemo, but I need to have another breast exam. I need to have my heart continuously checked. I've got a doctor's call in January just to go over all this with me. And it's wonderful to know that I've got that backup, but I don't need to worry about, at the same time, trying to fight to get some drugs I might need. Just a thought. What a great way to end this video, eh? Again, I want to thank all our old subscribers. I know this has been really weird content for you because you're so used to seeing us out and about and discovering places, and I'm really looking forward to getting back and doing that. Both Chris and I have said that to each other on the phone, that we both really miss each other and we miss getting out and about. So thank you so much to you guys that always support me and support our channel and send me comments. We really do appreciate it. And anybody else who's just joined, thank you for joining. I hope we'll bring you some content that you can enjoy and look at. And I'm not sure what a joy this one was, but I really felt the need to talk to you about this stuff. So thanks again, guys, and love you lots, and looking forward to Christmas. And you can see my sister-in-law puts her tree up right after Thanksgiving, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm really thankful that I can come over here and visit my parents and visit my brother and enjoy being in the U.S., albeit I'm looking forward to getting back. So see you guys later. Thank you.